Hey friends, welcome back. My name's Allie, and I make videos about film and entertainment and all things pop culture, and I'm so glad that you're here. I have a little bit of a cold, so sorry if I sound extra nasally today. If this is your first time seeing me, first of all, it's nice to meet you, and you should go check out my first video where I talked about my experience at Disneyland just overall. In this video, I'm going to be answering some of your questions. I probably won't have time to get to everything, but I'm going to try my best. So if you have anything else you want to ask about, leave it down below because I will probably be making a part 2. So first of all, thank you for all of your questions. You guys are so kind. Yes, that was a Junji Ito book in the background. I love horror. Maybe I'll make some videos about that one day, but let's get into some of the questions. So if you are new here, I worked at Disneyland for a little over a year with a big break because of COVID, and I played Princess Aurora, Sleeping Beauty, Megara from Hercules, and the Wasp from Ant-Man. First of all, I just wanted to comment on character integrity. It's a thing that Disney does where when you work there, the character is the character. So they don't want it to seem like, oh, there's 10 girls playing Snow White. It's just, there is Snow White, and then there's people who are like friends with Snow White. This isn't a super like strictly defined thing. It's more just, it's a way to keep the magic alive, which I totally respect. And a lot of things that Disney does are copyrighted. So the makeup routines, specific things that they train you with, I can't really talk about too much, but I'm gonna tell you what I can. Now, one of the questions that someone asked was about parades versus characters. So parades and characters are two very distinct departments. There's some people who do characters and parades, but for the majority, people who do parades just do parades, and people who do characters just do characters. The training is completely different. The parade performers are dancers, and the way that they work and they're paid is completely different. They don't really talk to guests, so when you see characters in the parades, they probably won't talk back to you, whereas the characters are specifically trained on how to talk to guests. I never did parades, but I had friends who would do both, and it just sounded so fun. Like, especially the holiday parade is so cute. The Magic Happens parade is also really cute, and I always loved Aurora's dress in the Magic Happens parade. The fabric that they use goes back and forth from pink and blue in just such a beautiful way. But I just know myself, and I know that I'm not a dancer, and I really liked what I was doing as a character doing meet and greets, so I just kind of stayed in my lane. We did get to do the character Cavalcade, which I don't know if they do this in Florida, but at Disneyland they use the like Main Street trolley, and they put a bunch of the characters on there and play this song, and they have dancers all around, and they take you up and down Main Street, like past the castle and then back behind. I think it's a small world. And as a princess, you get to sit on there and wave to everyone, and it was so fun. I only did it a few times, but I remember seeing like Disneyland from that perspective, from being like really high up there and then just like waving to guests. Like, that was so cool. That was when I felt like a celebrity. And that is something that is really unusual about this job, is you do kind of feel like a celebrity. I remember especially when I was on the Marvel campus, I would just get swarmed with people, literally swarmed, asking for autographs because we were roaming characters. We weren't just like in a specific meet and greet with a line. We would just kind of walk around and then manage our own line. So you would just get swarmed with people asking for autographs, and like you do kind of feel like Britney Spears or something in that moment. It's so funny. But then when you leave to go like clock out of your shift, literally no one cares who you are. But you get really good at doing the autograph fast because people will just throw the book into your hands and you have to sign. It is kind of funny when you first work there, you like practice your signature and you're like, I am never going to be able to do this fast enough or like legibly. Like, I remember sitting there writing out the words Princess Aurora. Like, that's like 15 letters and it's all in cursive. But over time, you do just get faster at it, and you, like me, I'm literally sitting here holding my hands like this, like literally muscle memory. And there's some signatures that are way easier than others. There's some that are like really, really hard and complicated. But there's kind of a flex of having a really complicated signature because it just looks so beautiful on the page versus like Ant-Man, which is literally just Ant-Man in all caps. No shade. So another question that I got a lot was, how do you respond to difficult questions that guests ask you? So this is what the majority of your training is when you're training to be a character, is learning how to answer questions in character and then also in accordance with the Disney sort of guidelines overall. So they teach you ways that your character would respond to questions. And I feel like just as an actor too, you learn your character and you figure out what that character would say, how they would react in that circumstance. But then you're always mindful of the Disney brand as well. So even if you're playing a villain or if you're playing Captain Jack Sparrow and someone offers you like a shot of whiskey, you're not going to take the whiskey. Even though Jack Sparrow probably would take the whiskey, you're still like obviously mindful of being in a family friendly environment, but you don't want to necessarily break that belief that the guests have that you're the character. So this is where your like skills and training kind of come in, and you think of creative ways to get around what that person is asking of you. I know for the villains, it's way more difficult because people ask them way crazier things. But Disney kind of trains the villains to act like they're like on their best behavior and they're trying to impress the guests. So they're not going to do anything mischievous because they're all kind of, narcissistic at the end of the day and they want to look good in front of everyone. So the people that they hire to play the villains are usually like the best of the best actors. Like they're so funny and so good because you need to be comedic in that role. Like all the Disney villains are so camp and ridiculous, and that's what makes them so fun and likable. Like, Ursula, the evil queen, like they're so camp that people love to interact with them because it's comedy, it's funny. They're not really scary. For me, some of the hardest questions that guests would ask would be about like scary parts in the movie and just kind of like changing the topic or just sort of like reassuring the guests that that was like in my past, like that didn't, like I'm fine now, So of course the question that people would ask Aurora all the time would be like, was it scary when you fell asleep, when you pricked your finger? Little kids would ask that all the time. And I would just tell them, no, I don't remember it at all. I was under a spell. All I remember was waking up and Prince Philip was right there, my dream prince. And then I could sort of change the topic into being about Prince Philip. I could be like, oh, have you seen him today? He's out on a ride with Samson. We're going to go meet up for a picnic later. Or maybe I would show them my finger and I'd be like, nope, it's all better. So for every character, you're going to have sort of topics that people are going to bring up. You use your own creativity, you use other people's stories that maybe you've heard someone else tell, and you think of creative, fun ways to answer their question, and be respectful, but then also sort of transition it back into maybe a more fun topic to talk about, or something that you have like stories in mind of maybe just fun things that you could tell someone. So when you meet characters, they are usually trying to find ways to do this. If you ask them like, how are you today? I like your outfit, or I like your crown, I like your dress. Where's Ant-Man? They're going to have stories ready to go. That's why it's so fun to meet characters, because you can ask them lots of questions and they're going to find a way to sort of creatively storytell and give you an entertaining experience that brings you into their world. So I would never feel uncomfortable going up and talking to a character and asking them questions. I would love this when I worked there. They come up to me and just treat me like a character, like a person, and want to have an interaction versus just asking me to sign their autograph book or take a picture, which is like completely fine if you just want to do that, obviously. But it just makes it so much fun for both people if you just ask them like one or two really simple questions, or a comment on something, because they're going to be ready to just make the experience so much more fun. So I got another comment asking if I saw anything that parents do that make shy children more comfortable when meeting characters. And I love this question so much because I totally saw this all the time. There are some kids who are so outgoing and eager to meet characters and have a million questions they want to ask them. They want to give them a hug and they want to sit on their lap. And then there's some kids who are way more shy or just a bit reserved or are kind of waiting for the character to bring them into the story. So I think part of this is probably on the character to just gauge the child's comfortability around meeting a new person. Because as much as we are these characters that they've probably seen on their TV, we're also real people. So the character does need to make a space that's comfortable and welcoming. So we would usually do this by crouching down on one knee, having really open body posture, looking people in the eye, smiling, just creating a welcoming environment as well. And then for the parents, some of the best interactions that I saw were when a parent wouldn't completely take over the interaction and speak for their child. That was always a bit awkward, but I think the parent just maybe crouching down with the child, sort of everyone's at the same eye level, and then maybe giving the child like a few prompts to talk about. So what I would see a lot would be like, oh, you remember Princess Aurora? You just saw her castle. Princess Aurora loves animals. You love animals too. Do you want to tell her about your dog? Or if they're carrying a stuffed animal, the parent could be like, show her what you have. Just sort of encouraging the child that it's okay to talk to this person. Like, you have this thing in common you can talk about. What would make me really sad is when parents would get like mad at their kid or sort of embarrassed that their kid was being shy or just didn't really want to talk to the character. It would make me so sad because I feel like when I was a kid, I wasn't super outgoing either. Like, I would hate when parents would like apologize for their kid by being like, sorry, she's being quiet. Like, I don't know what's wrong with her. And the kid's like literally just acting completely normally around meeting a stranger. I would try to then like go out of my way to be like, oh no, it's okay. Like, oh, I was always told not to speak to strangers too. But I think we've met before. So as a parent, I would suggest trying to just stay as calm as you can in the situation, sort of bringing everyone down to eye level if you can, and not trying to take over the interaction or speak for your child or make them feel embarrassed, and just sort of encourage the child to talk about things that they really want to talk about or that they've been talking about the whole trip. The first few times they meet a character might be kind of uncomfortable, but I think if they see that this is a very safe environment, that these people are very kind, and the interaction will be over in like 30 seconds. If you want it to be over, we can just take a picture. That's also totally fine. They'll get used to it after a little bit. But even the fact that you're thinking about this is so sweet and shows that you're the best kind of parent. Oh, something else that someone brought up was the Bugs Land. So the Wasp and Ant-Man carry around this tiny little Bugs Land. So if you don't know the story, where Marvel Campus is now is where the Bugs Land used to be. It was a whole part of California Adventure around the movie A Bug's Life. So the Imagineers thought of like a really cute way to still incorporate that history of the park into the storytelling. So they made this tiny little like shrunken down version of the Bugs Land and put it inside a Pim's glass container. And the rides inside literally like move around. And it has a little like strap under it, so we would like hold on to it. And I was obsessed with it. It's so cute. And it always got such a good reaction from guests who had been to the Bugs Land before. They would get so nostalgic about it. It was so cute. And there were all sorts of fun things to talk to the kids about, like, do you want to come visit later? We could shrink you down really tiny and we could go ride one of the rides together. Or, like, I think Ant-Man's in there right now. Do you see him? I think I see him. I think he has a churro. It was very cute and very delicate, too. So we would never let anyone hold it. We would just hold on to it. Even though people would literally try to grab it from us all the time or ask if they could buy it, which I think they should sell it. It's so cool. Ooh, someone left a really fun question. They said, I want to know about the backstage drama. Lots of young, hot people working together. LOL, there had to have been some wild love triangles going on. This is so funny. I don't want to say too much just to protect people's privacy, but can confirm it's a truly like crazy environment where it's like 90% like beautiful women and then there's like 10% like men, and probably 5% of those men are gay, and then the other 5% are like the good looking straight dudes, and then the other straight dudes. So it creates a really interesting environment where these guys literally have their pick in a way of like all of these women. And then some of the girls feel like this competition over these like very few men. So I've definitely seen some like crazy behavior happen, like cheating, sort of inappropriate flirting, like jealousy when people play a couple, and then just a lot of like tension between people as well. And people love to comment on it too. Like in the break rooms, there's definitely like such a social culture there. So everyone like loves to gossip, of course. And because there's so few like straight guys that work there, everyone knows like who's dating who. And of course, there's always some really cute like married couples where they met at Disney, or they both just started working at Disney and they maybe perform together as a couple, or they play like two different characters and it's just kind of funny that they're, you know, secretly like married. I always love that. And it's funny at Disney because so many of the characters perform as like couples, because that's such like a Disney thing to have like the true loves. And of course, like there's not just one person usually who plays each character. So if you are like in a couple dynamic, you get to have a bunch of different partners. And like you're always gonna have like one person who's your favorite or like your least favorite of your like partner. And like same with them, like they'll straight up tell you like, oh, I like working with you, I don't like working with this other person. Like just like any sort of office space, it's so funny working at Disney though, because everyone is always like glammed up and it's so like social. We're talking all day and you're also playing like a very heightened version of yourself. But I could absolutely see how people fall in love working at Disney. Like it really does bring you together. Okay, last question that I'll just answer was, if I loved it so much, why did I leave? And that's a good question because I really did love it a lot. But the main reason is that there's really not a lot of growth in the role. So you could become a trainer or you could become like a lead manager, but there's really no way to get like a promotion in the job. And as much as I loved it, it was a job for that time in my life. Even when I was there too, I would feel like I wish I was using what I learned in school. I would also like to be able to work my way up and have like a great career and get paid like a salary. That would be really great. And find a job that isn't just reliant on how I look as a measure of my success. So that's something that definitely got to me a little bit, was that if you look a certain way, you get more roles. And so much of that you can't change. This is where it becomes especially difficult for like people of color, because there just aren't as many roles for them to play. Like as a white girl, there's so many characters you can play. And girls who have certain face types get cast as more things and get more special opportunities. But if you're like Indian, there's really only one, maybe two characters that you can play. Whereas I could probably play like 20. And then there's also the stress around your body, trying to still look like a teenager when you're in your mid-20s. I'm definitely excited about my career that I'll have for the next, rest of my life doing this. And I just remain very grateful for everything that this job taught me. All the people I met, the experiences I had. It was just an excellent chapter of my life. And I remember feeling a small sense of freedom too in leaving, that I could be like, oh, I don't have to squeeze into like a size 0 corset and be valued for my brain like a little bit more too. So it made sense for me to leave, but it will always hold a special place in my heart. And I'm so glad I have all these great photos too. Like shout out to the Disney photographers who upload these. But I think that's about it for this video. Please leave me any more questions you want, and maybe I'll do like a story time next time, because I definitely have a few like really crazy guest interaction stories that I have written down, and I would love to just tell you guys about that. Oh, my mug is back. It's so good, right? It's so cute. Well, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll definitely be posting more videos. And leave me some more questions for a part 2. And I will see you very soon. Bye!